do this. Alrighty, and we're gonna do this too. Ta-da! Okay, I don't know what it's like where you're at. I went for a run and then I met a friend and went for a walk. I haven't had time to shower. My hair is kind of, hi honeybees, thanks for joining us. And Jack Parker, good to see you. Excellent, 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 and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to deliver the very best care to your holistic health clients, particularly if you're an iridologist. And if you're not an iridologist yet, this is a good thing for you to be seeing at this stage early on, where you haven't been maybe haven't had all your training yet and all that good stuff. So let's just gonna make some extra room here on my screen. There we go. Okay, we are going to, like I said, cover what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do. This is really important. Now, there's so many misconceptions out there about iridology, and they're typically being perpetrated by people who have been trained in outmoded styles of iridology, in styles that have not kept up with the current research. The problem with this is that it truly gives all of us a bad name, and that's not good, right? We have an industry. We should be working together. We should be on the same page. Iridologists who are up to date practice constitutional iridology, because this is where the current research is happening. And this is important. I want you to know that the chats and the comments are all open on whether you're with me live on the webinar or whether you're with me on Facebook or Instagram. So please feel free to drop a comment or ask questions as we go, and I'd be happy to answer them if they fit the scope of what we are covering today. Just taking a moment to introduce myself. My name is Judith Cobb. I am a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, certified comprehensive iridology instructor, and certified comprehensive iridologist as well. I got into holistic healing some 4 decades ago when my own health as a young adult was not optimal, and the doctors could not give me answers. They kept asking to do more tests and more tests, and never once, even though I asked, were they able to say, well, we've ruled this out, we've ruled this in, we've got shortened the list, nothing like that. And so I got frustrated, and that was when I was blessed to begin learning about holistic health. So I have been in the industry now for 4 decades. I have written many books that were self-published and self-distributed. They include Pregnancy Naturally, The Herbal Birth Kit Handbook, Healthy Kids Naturally, The Essential Guide to Nature's Sunshine Products, Biokinesiology and Color Therapy Level 1 and 2, and the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology Textbook. I've also created and taught many courses over the years. My first course was a 20-hour level 1 herbal course designed to teach people how to use commercially prepared herbs with their own families. And they loved that so much that they asked for a level 2. So we created an advanced level where we focused more on herbal combinations that were available commercially to teach them how and when to use those. That was a 16-hour course. Also created and taught Biokinesiology and Color Therapy Level 1 and Level 2. For a length of time, I was also a prenatal educator. I was certified with the ICEA, and so I was designing and teaching antenatal classes. I loved doing that. That was a ton of fun. And in the last decade or so, I have also become a certified iridologist with IPA, and I had been certified with them years previously, and certified by many other organizations as well, but I decided to align with IPA on a really solid level and created a course, the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System course, that complies with their level 1 and level 2 curriculum, so that I can help aspiring and practicing holistic practitioners become well-trained and potentially certified iridologists. Alrighty. Our next round of the course Dynamic Iridology Assessment System will be starting on September 9th. And at the end of our time together today, I will drop just a 30-second blurb about that course and how to learn more. Are you ready to look at some eyes with me now? Yes, yes? Guess yes. If you are, I would love to see a hello in the comments box. Let me know that you're ready to look at some eyes with me now. Just give me a hello. That way I know you're there and that you're paying attention. Alrighty, so here we have the first iris, and we're going to talk about this in terms of what we can and cannot say. This is really important. So this iris, and for those of you who are on Instagram, I'm going to move my camera closer so you see more photo and less other stuff. There we go. This iris shows a very resilient pattern overall. We've got very densely packed fibers. They have really high fiber per square inch, and that suggests strong resiliency. When we look at this eye, there are some indications of slight inherent predispositions to a slightly lower resilience, particularly when we're talking about the digestive tract, and so stomach and intestines. And when we are looking at the surface blood and lymph and how well they work in this body. When we look at this, we see again that the fibers are predominantly quite straight. They are quite densely packed. So even when we see eyes like this, that suggests a strong resiliency, that suggests a good predisposition to enjoying good health, we have to then consider why the client has symptoms, because the client may have symptoms that don't seem to correlate with what we see in the eyes. And that can be for a few reasons. One of those reasons is you can be blessed with a very strong body and not take care of it. If you're blessed with a really resilient body that, if it were well nourished, would function well for the long term, but you don't nourish it well, you party hard, you smoke, you drink, you eat junk food, you don't exercise, then just like this Rolls Royce that looks like it's rusting out somewhere, you can make your body rust out too. It's important to remember that just because you started out with a strong body genetically and you would pass those strong genes on to your children, should you have children, you can destroy your health by not taking care of your body. And the eyes will not show us that, because the irides show us your genetic tendencies. They show us what your genetic capabilities are. A car of lesser quality can last many, many years if it is well cared for. That is also true of people. We may see someone who's got an iris structure with markings in the iris that suggest that this person has less resiliency. But if they understand what their body needs, they can actually help their body function amazingly well for the long term. And we've got Deborah Lynn saying hello. So good to see you there. Thanks for being with us. This is an eye of a client who has less resiliency. Can you see in this image that we have lots of areas where we've got gaps between fibers? This suggests things that have been passed down through the generations that may have less resiliency. We see pigment here, which also is an inherent indicator of things that may want to be out of balance. So, you know, when I did the old kind of iridology, this person would have left with a very sad report. It would have been a report of all of the negative things that their body was capable of. And it didn't really help them much, because, you know, so many people, if you say you've got this problem, that problem, the other problem, it just beats them down. And that doesn't make them want to work hard to fix it necessarily. They feel defeated. With constitutional iridology, we understand that what we are looking at in the eyes are the inherent patterns. We also understand that we cannot change those inherent patterns, but we can certainly maximize the function in those areas by doing the right things nutritionally, with supplements, with lifestyle, with sleep, with just good self-care. And so when we look at this eye, and this is a right iris, and we see all of these potential challenges that have been passed down that would be in the heart and in the lungs and in the liver and coming down through some of the endocrine glands and coming over here through the thyroid and the throat. We see that there's a potential for many of these challenges, but we are not able to say that this person has those problems. We need to have a conversation with this client to understand what their health concerns are and how these things may or may not be manifesting in their body. Often people who have eyes that show lower resilience figure it out really early on in life that their rules for good health are different from other people's rules. These people often figure out that they need to have a better diet, that they don't do well if they cheat themselves on sleep. They often figure out that they need to take some supplements, or that there are certain foods that don't agree with them. And when they take that better care, again, it's not going to change what we see in their eyes, but it will change how their body functions. When clients come in with symptoms that don't match their eyes, it's because they've earned those symptoms. While iridology is the blueprint of the body's inherent patterns, it does not account for the abuse that is dished out to the body. It might even be something as obvious as smoking. It may be something like skipping on sleep, or maybe just having a sedentary lifestyle. Iridology informs us as to the best ways to care for the body, food choices, lifestyle supplements, when we understand the inherent tendencies and patterns that we see in the irides. In order to truly help people, iridologists need to have a really solid understanding of anatomy and physiology. Hello, Juju. Hello, Juntos. Good to see you. Thanks for being there. And James, good to see you as well. We're glad to have you with us on IGTV. When we, as iridologists, again, we need to have other modalities as well. We need to have herbology or nutrition or aromatherapy or body work or some kind of spinal alignment technique. Trying to do iridology without having a modality is like taking your car to the repair shop and the mechanic says, yep, your car's got a problem. I know what it is, but I don't have the tools to fix it. You have to take it down the road. Hi, Psycho, good to see you. And so with this, it's really important as holistic practitioners that we do understand how the body works, and that we do have a modality, and that we don't do a one-to-one correlation. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let me just pop back 2 slides. So a one-to-one correlation would be saying this one mark relates to only one organ, and we will only see this kind of symptom from it. Instead, this mark, this gap, when we put this white band around it, gives us a lot of information, and we put all of that together with the fact that this is a basic blue eye. It all works together to give us a more clear picture of what we are potentially working with, the kinds of questions we need to ask our client, and the kinds of things we may recommend or suggest as modalities or ways of helping the person. When we are looking at a set of eyes, we cannot diagnose. That is so important. We cannot look at a set of eyes and diagnose a disease name, because the eyes are genetically programmed. So we can't say that someone has diabetes. We can't say that they have psoriasis. We may see things that suggest they have an increased risk of those things. And when we see that, it will lead us to ask questions if they are appropriate with what the client wants help with. We may see indicators that suggest an increased risk of disease, but again, we cannot pronounce a diagnosis. Hello, Love Beauty. Thanks for joining us on IG. What we do want to do is use the eyes to trigger the questions we need to ask. So we might ask someone, for example, if we see markings that suggest a blood sugar disorder, we might ask, is there a personal or family history of anything related to blood sugars? We can't call it diabetes. We can't call it hypoglycemia, but the client can. The client can say, yeah, my dad has type 1 diabetes. Great, that is information we can work with. We can also ask him if he's had dietary counseling. We probably, if we're not licensed medical practitioners, need to ask if he has sought medical attention for this. But we cannot diagnose a disease, and we cannot name a cure for him. So when we see a set of eyes like this, these are the same person taken 20 years apart. And some of you are going to say, oh, look at the healing that's happened. As you look at the image on the right and it looks more blue, the pupil is smaller, the fibers are straighter, markings that are inside the collarette look smaller. I'm going to say, nope, this is my husband. He's had a good diet all along. He's been on supplements all along. The biggest differences here are that over time, he has acquired pigment. This is not toxicity. This is a genetic indicator of things that are activating in his body. And the camera changed. This was a print film camera, a professional grade print film camera. This was a 24 megapixel camera with an LED illuminator. So the illuminator itself, because this was incandescent and this was LED, is going to change the way color manifests. The intensity of the light in this case accounts for the smaller pupil. The smaller pupil accounts for the fibers being pulled straighter and accounts for these markings looking narrower because they've been stretched out. All right, so it's a tremendous disservice, and it's potentially dangerous for people to post images on social media and for someone to do an analysis of those images without having a conversation with the client. This is so important. As a practitioner, the information that is provided in our conversation is so important. To give a list of markers, a list of potential problems, a list of remedies does a huge disservice to our clients. It is massively overwhelming for them. And I would propose that when we are doing this on social media, we're not doing it for clients. We're doing it for people who are asking for free information, which is a disservice to the practitioner. And again, because of the volume of information that most quote unquote iridologists give in this situation, it is a disservice to the client because the client doesn't know where to begin with all of that information. They will choose the one or two things that resonated with them and they will work there, but they won't get any value from any of the rest of it. Overwhelming our clients is not a good idea. So again, these images were taken with different cameras, very different technology. And we can see how the pigment has accumulated over 20 odd years to show in the image that is on the right, happening between 30 minutes and to a lesser extent, all the way up to about 42 minutes in the iris. We cannot, even with that pigment, diagnose anything. We know what color the pigment is. We know what it means. What is its organ of origin. We know what organs it wants to impact. And that is going to guide our questions to help us understand what support we want to render, but never will we actually give a disease name. Here we have the images of a 44-year-old female, sorry, she is 200 pounds, is 5 feet 10. She's gaining weight. She's not happy about that. And for those of you on Instagram, we'll angle this camera a little bit better so you can have a better picture. My apologies for the wobble there. There, that's a little bit better. joint aches, weight gain, depression that gets worse in the winter. Now, she lives north of the 49th parallel, right? She's in Canada, where seasonal affective disorder is rampant. That is winter depression because our days are short and our sunlight is limited. So she gets winter depression. She's on an antidepressant for that, and she has painful menstrual periods. As we analyze her eye, what we see is the fiber structure of her eye, where things are a little bit tangled, a little bit messy, puts her into what we consider to be a connective tissue constitution. She has a central heterochromia, and that central heterochromia is brown and orange, which suggests that the liver may want to be causing stress for things. Now, remember with traditional Chinese medicine that the liver is the seat of depression. It also balances hormones. Oh, she's prone to depression. She's prone to some PMS hormone imbalances. Could that suggest that her liver may need support? We also see some dirty yellow in that central heterochromia, which suggests a predisposition to some kidney insufficiencies. Interesting, because when we couple that with this particular lacuna, this particular type of lacuna, it again reinforces the idea that the kidneys may be a bit of a weak link for her. We know that kidneys clear acid. If the kidneys, based on the yellow pigment and on that one particular lacuna, are not able to clear enough acid, we are going to see some joint issues. Again, traditional Chinese medicine says that the kidneys control the knees. Okay, weight gain is always about inflammation. Yes, diet, but when you look at the diet, people who eat only leafy greens and good source proteins, for example, and good source proper vegetable balance and fruit balance don't gain weight. People who have a substandard diet and who have inflammation gain weight. And so what questions did we want to ask her? Again, she's concerned about the joint aches, the way she's gaining weight, and the depression. But she also mentioned the painful periods. So based on her eyes and based on that little bit of history that we have about her, we needed to ask her first about her digestion, because that's where so much of the pigment is sitting, in that digestive zone. And she said there were no problems there. So that was fine, but she has a problem with elimination. Her bowel movements are often like rabbit pellets. That suggests moving too slowly and being too dry. So I had to ask her about coffee consumption, because coffee is a diuretic and coffee is a liver stress. And she was drinking about 3 to 4 cups per day. I got to tell you that regardless of what people say about coffee being good for you, I have not seen any health conditions that improve for drinking coffee. When we look at what coffee does to the stomach lining, and when we see things like when we know what coffee does to the liver and the stomach and the adrenals, and we know that coffee will increase the acid level in the body, that can all lead to inflammation. Okay, so Honeybee, that's a slightly nebulous comment. I think you're making a comment on weight gain there. And you're right. It was a sweeping generalization, but it is true in many cases, So with this client on her first appointment, and what Honeybee said on Instagram is, after the issues I've had with my spleen chi, I'm not as certain of that diet generalization. All right. So on this client's first assessment, having looked at her eye photos, we suggested that she should be considering eliminating coffee, and also suggested using a collagen supplement, some digestive enzymes, and some leafy greens for her liver. She did that and she started to feel well, an improvement at least. On her second appointment, she had done all of those recommendations. She did find her joints were improving, that her periods were improving, and that the depression was starting to lift a bit. So then we talked about her water intake, again, looking at the kidney indicators. And she was drinking about 3 glasses a day, which for a 200-pound person is not nearly enough. So we started working on her water, got her to begin increasing that from 3 glasses to 6, which is probably still not enough, but it's a good start. She was saying that she was starting to have problems with her sleep. In traditional Chinese medicine, liver is also the seat of insomnia. Okay, and so we knew we would probably need to be working on that liver a little bit more than just with cutting out coffee and adding leafy greens. So we suggested, though, that she should get some protein at every meal, and suggested that she could include vegetarian-based proteins a couple of times a week, at least, to begin balancing out her blood sugars and things like that, and to be reducing the inflammatory things that the inflammatory effects of things like red meat. I suggested that she might want to talk to her doctor about getting an SAD lamp to help her with the SAD, and that she could begin walking for 30 minutes a day at a gentle pace. So that was all great. And again, you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm building her diet very slowly. I'm giving her time to implement changes. I want her to be really successful, but have you also heard, I've never once named a disease. I've never once named a cure. We've kept this very focused on the idea of where are the imbalances and what is the root of the imbalance. On her third appointment, she said her doctor had given her a prescription for the SAD lamp. Now, you don't need a prescription for an SAD lamp, except that if you have one, you can use it as a tax write-off here in Canada against your medical expenses. She was drinking water. She was doing better with her protein. She was not quite as successful with the walking. And so we continue to encourage her in that way. And again, what we are doing is we are correlating what she says she wants help with to the markers in her eyes to understand why she's got the imbalances, why she's got the symptoms she has. And then from there, we craft the diet. We don't make a long list of supplements. We don't make a long list of markers. We focus only on what the client needs, because we know we're going to be working at the root of the problem, and that's going to take care of a lot of things all the way along. So again, it's really important to remember that as iridologists, we cannot diagnose, we cannot prescribe. And that's what I'm hoping you will take away from this. Too many iridologists are using old, disproven information. They are diagnosing. And I know that because my original iridology training 4 decades ago was the style that would name diseases and name cures. I'm just ever so grateful I never got thrown in jail for it. We're not medical doctors. And even if you are a medical doctor, you only want to use iridology as an assessment tool, not as a diagnostic tool. The safest way to practice iridology and be of the best service to your clients is to study and use constitutional iridology as a guide to assess your client's irides, and you want to use those irides and a conversation with your client to understand more fully what needs to happen, what recommendations you can make, why things are happening the way they are. If you are looking for iridology training and you're curious and you want to learn more, I am going to invite you, I'm just going to put my phone back on its stand, invite you to a webinar to learn more about the upcoming Dynamic Iridology class. It is the only live, online, fully mentored course for nutritionists, herbalists, and naturopaths who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. And we do this to help you be more effective in your work. I know you're already doing good work, but I find that a lot of, I shouldn't say but, because I know you are doing good work if you're a holistic practitioner, and you are likely donating many hours to each client hours that you're not paid for in order to create their protocols. When you understand constitutional iridology and how to apply it well in a clinical setting, you will actually be able to create your client protocols in your paid sessions. And that will mean that your protocols are simple enough that your clients can stick with them, can enjoy success. And as they enjoy success, they want to keep working with you. They will become repeat clients. I have got clients who have been with me now for 39 years, like right since almost the very beginning of my business, which is quite amazing. The upcoming info session is happening on Thursday, July 22nd at 12 noon. And that will be at tinyurl.com/uppercase IE-2021-July-22nd. And in this webinar, I will be teaching you, sharing with you some business tips that can help you to begin to streamline your protocol creation activities already, even without iridology. And I will be sharing all the details about the course, who it's designed for, how it will benefit you in your work and how it will benefit your clients, what the tuition is, what the payment plans are, what kind of support you get, what learning materials you will have access to. We go through all the details so you can make an informed decision. With that, my friends, are there any other questions about anything we've talked about today? Kind of a quiet group today. And if there are, great, I will answer them. And if there are not, I think we will wrap it up. I'm not seeing anything come through. And so with that, for those of you who are in Canada Day, enjoy the holiday. It's our Canada Day holiday today. Michelle, you are so welcome. Thank you for being with me today. I appreciate that. And for those of you who are in the US, enjoy your July 4th coming up on Sunday, and have a fabulous week. We'll see you next week. Take good care and bye for now.